Well, I just saw TronAres and it was okay. It was not what I expected. It was okay, kind of mid. Um, I basically broke down the good and the bad, what I liked about it, what I didn't. Um, yeah, we can talk about it. Let's talk about it. Welcome to the Lethal Geeks Film Vault. I am your host, Sergeant Motar. First of all, I want to get into the good, which is basically the visuals. That's pretty much it. Um, it was a feast when it came to the visual. The VFX were solid, on point, and it was exactly what I expected from a Tron film, basically, especially after seeing Tron Legacy. So the visuals were spectacular, and that's pretty much it.
What?
The bad. The story. So there was no real cohesion to the story as far as what we got from Tron Legacy, basically. So as anybody who saw the film, spoiler alert if you didn't see it, you know by the end of that film, basically Kevin Flynn sacrificed himself to basically merge back with his digital alter ego Clue.
Sorry, Clue. I'm sorry.
And that was supposed to basically pick up from a third film called Tron Ascension. And this was back in 2015, I think that it started development. So Jared Leto then was supposed to be leading the cast as Ares. I think he might have been playing Ares in that too. Like I said, other than the visuals, everything else was not great. The story, like I said, a lot of people like me were expecting some sort of connection to Legacy, and there was in a kind of Easter eggy sort of way.
Explain as you would a child.
Basically, the film basically picks up off of somebody completely new. So, by the way, Sam Flynn, Cora, what they're not in it, um, but they show hints of them in the end, and I'll explain that later. But basically, the story was the main character's name is Eve Kim. She's running Incom. Um, she is trying to find a solution to having digital creations and basically on the grid uh, merge in the real world only permanently, basically. So the name of that software is called Permanent. And basically, Kevin Flynn had it buried somewhere in the grid, from a long time ago. What I didn't like about that is it was already established in Tron Legacy that um, Korra was going to be as an isomorphic, creation. She was going to be the key to bridging everything that Jeff Bridges, Kevin Flynn was talking about in the first place: science, medicine, religion. It was going to do all of that, and she was the key to that. With this one, they just went a completely different direction, basically. And it was okay, and it would work as a standalone. But the way they threw the Easter eggs in there to make people believe that it was going to be some sort of like real sustainable connection, it wasn't. It just wasn't there. Dillinger's in it again. So Julian Dillinger is the grandson of Edward Dillinger from the very first Tron, and the son of Killian Murphy's Edwin Dillinger on Tron Legacy. So he plays the grandson. Still the villain. The Dillinger name is still, basically lives in infamy. And he is trying to also find permanence um, for his digital creations, mainly Tron Ares. So Ares basically is his version of Tron on his grid, but he's also the I believe he's like the main the main CPU or the main he's the one basically. Um, so yeah, so what happens basically is they only last for so long on Dillinger's grid. He can pull them into the real world, but they only last for a certain amount of time, and then they go into a de-resolution. They basically just disintegrate, just like Tron Legacy. Basically, every 29 minutes, that's when it happens. So he's trying to find permanence for his grid, or the characters on his grid, so he can sell that stuff to defense, to army, and the military and all of that. Eve Kim, there's really no explanation as far as her backstory goes. It kind of just throw her in there. So she runs Incom now. She's the CEO of Incom after Sam left Incom. Apparently, he was, the way they make it sound like is he returned to head up Incom, and then he just inexplicably left. So, but again, that was what we would have gotten, I believe, in the version that was called Tron Ascension. So she's the CEO of Incom. Sam left a company with no explanation. They kind of just throw her in there. There's also other characters in there, like her assistant, and there's other people. It's just a whole new cast, basically, except for Kevin Flynn. Kevin Flynn does come back for a brief moment. I'll explain that too. Athena is basically a villain from the Dillinger Grid. She's like Ares' partner, and they are tasked with trying to find permanence. So they're trying to find this software.
And someday you will be a real boy.
A real boy!
So it's a typical MacGuffin. It's basically, the good guys and the bad guys are both chasing for the, they're after the same thing. And then there's this back and forth between Athena and Eve Kim. So what happens is they pull them from the grid, from Dillinger's grid, to the real world to try to stop, to get her because she has permanence, and then give it to Julian Dillinger. Basically, that's what it is. So bad guy trying to get something that the good guy is basically has. But other than that, she's just a standard villain like any other Tron villain might be, I guess. That's pretty much it. The permanence code. So the permanence code basically is this code that keeps them permanent and in the real world. So they're everlasting, like we would be, so to speak. So they're there now. They don't de-resolution after a specific amount of time. But again, it doesn't make sense because, again, Cora from Tron Legacy, she was supposed to be the key to being able to come over to the real world and be in the real world, which she did at the end. So Sam basically saved the grid and the code onto a little chip with his father merged basically into the digital world, and Cora was in the real world, and that's how they ended it. So we expected something to come off of that. The dialogue was clunky. It was almost like everybody was just kind of phoning it in. Even, unfortunately, Kevin Flynn.
No, 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 no! Hell no! No!
Yeah, so it just wasn't what I expected. To me, it should have been a direct sequel to Legacy. Like I said, that code that Flynn had and Cora was a key component to how that was going to be. But I was also expecting Tron himself, played by the character Alan Bradley, that was his counterpart in the original Tron and in Tron Legacy. So everybody was expecting Tron, the actual, the namesake of the entire, the IP. He wasn't in it at all. It had nothing to do with Tron in name at all. It had nothing to do with that. This felt like a standalone film, and it just didn't meet my expectations when it came. I mean, like I said, it was okay, but it was not what I was expecting. I don't think it's going to be a lot of what everybody else expected. Now, it's gotten pretty good, like critic reviews as far as like the audience goes. The critics, they kind of smashing it, but the audience seems to like it. Like I said, if I were to rate it, I'd give it probably a 6 out of 10. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Sound off in the comments down there. Let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. At the end of it, by the way, I meant to mention this. There's a picture that shows Sam and Cora together that Ares has. So he found the code. He's permanence now, and I'm assuming looking for them. So if this film makes a profit, if it makes a profit, they may make another one because they did leave that part open to Ares maybe trying to find Sam and Cora. But then again, the big issue is Tron. Tron again is not in this film, and it feels like he should be because Tron was the security program uh, for Kevin Flynn's grid, and that was a likeness of Alan Bradley. So yeah, so I was expecting kind of like an Empire Strikes Back type kind of feel with this one that might lead into another one, which would bring back Tron as basically the Dillinger grid or whatever grids are coming into the real world. There's a big war. Tron is then reconstituted onto the grid, and then he helps fight. Basically, I don't know if it'll be Ares or somebody else, but a lot of people were expecting that, especially a lot of Tron fans. But like I said, it was alright. It was okay. Is it going to make my physical media list? Yes, it still will, even though I think that this one's the lowest of the bunch. I actually think that the 1982 version of Tron was better than this. I mean, the graphics obviously are dated. But let me know what you guys think. Sound off on the comments down there. Again, thank you so much for listening to my review. This has been the Lethal Geeks Film Vote, and see you next time. Good night.